Is a major problem because of the budget, people's utility costs are going up because there was a heavy tax on utilities. There's a tax on health insurance programs. If people do have private insurance, they tax the heck out of that. They tax just about everything. And one of the things that I've heard the most about is people losing their star rebate checks, which we all know that property taxes are a major problem in New York State.
We have the highest property taxes in the United States in Chautauqua County.
It's just terrible, and that's why we work so hard to get. Now, I don't want people to get nervous about the regular STAR program. The governor did talk a little bit about maybe eliminating that, and that's the break that you see in your tax bills when you get your tax bills. That's safe, even though the governor has talked about maybe messing around with that. But the thing that people lost this year was, a couple of years ago, we put in an extra boost with the STAR rebate check because we felt that we had to get property taxes down even further. Unfortunately, through the governor's budget, that was eliminated this year, and we're trying to get that back. It's a question of priorities and how the state wants to prioritize things, and I think that we need to turn the state around and make it easier to live here, more affordable to live here, and more affordable for businesses to provide jobs here.
As you're stating, New York State has the highest taxes in the United States, according to all the pundits.
Yes.
And so we're losing population leaving the state, and most importantly, businesses are leaving the state. They can't deal with not only the high taxes, but we're also restricted with terrible mandates and a lot of other crazy things.
A lot of red tape.
And red tape and regulations and rules that are getting insane in New York. You can't trap a mouse in New York legally.
No, I mean, it's just crazy.
It's nutsy. And so what's the answer? The governor's answer is raise the tax to 17%. Crazy!
I know, and at the same time, you know what else happened, Reed, was when he raised taxes $8.5 billion, he also increased spending by $13 billion during a recession. That was 7 times the rate of inflation. And they already had a budget deficit. Now, New York State is not like the feds. You know, you hear about the feds and their $1 trillion deficits and so on. The New York State Constitution says that you have to have a balanced budget. You can't carry deficits from year to year. So they passed this budget, and I want to tell you, it was the worst process I've ever seen. We've heard for years about 3 men in a room in secret behind closed doors passing the budget. And that happened this year, except this time it was 3 men in a room from New York City. And I was so disappointed by that because we had worked very hard to get budget reform in place so that we would have an open process. And oftentimes I go to talk to young children in school and I'll say, you know, how many of you thought about how the state budget impacts you today? And maybe 1 or 2 wise guys will raise their hands, but they didn't really.
Well, Silver's still there, right?
He's still there.
Who's running your shop?
We don't know.
You don't?
They're in such disarray.
Who's in charge of the Senate? Who knows?
No, there's about 3 right now, all from New York City, who are fighting over it.
All New Yorkers.
All
and of
New
course, our governor just doesn't see what's going on as from New York, too. And we have a couple phone calls already.
Oh,
You want to take a phone call?
okay.
Good morning,
Great, I
caller.
would
Thank you
love
for
to.
waiting. Hello there.
Hello.
Hi.
Good
I
morning.
have a question.
Sure,
I
go
have
ahead.
a question for the senator.
You're on.
The governor is proposing. Hello.
Yeah,
Yes,
you're on. You're
we're
on.
listening.
The governor is proposing to okay gay marriages. That's one of the questions that bothers me.
Well, let's our guest talk about that. What do you think of that?
Well, first of all, I support traditional marriage, but the governor's pushing this very hard, and I'm not really sure why. I don't think that there are enough votes in the Senate
What was the other one?
that are on both sides of the
Come
aisle
on.
right now. But he has said that when we go back into session, he's going to force it to come out on the floor. So that's what's going on with that. I'm not sure where that's going to go, but I think that they feel that if they bring it out and it fails, the advocates for gay marriage don't want that to happen. So we'll see what happens next. As you know, it has passed the Assembly, and so now in order for a bill to become a law, it has to pass both houses and be signed by the governor. But the governor is pushing this very, very hard.
So he'll sign, so it's up to the Senate, right?
It's up to
Well,
the Senate.
listen.
Right.
Oh, Senator, there's one other question I have,
Sure.
and it's a pertinent question. We're talking about budget, and we're talking about problems with our budget. do you think that the Native Americans should still be allowed to sell their product tax-free?
Yes.
And do you think something should be done about it, or do you have any proposal at all about this problem?
First of all, I wanted to comment. Native Americans, the Indian tribes, are separate nations under the federal constitution. And it's like going to Canada and saying, you've got to collect New York State sales tax. But go ahead, you can speak on the subject.
Well, you know, there's two schools of thought on this, and the legislature actually in the past has passed bills, legislation that said that the cigarette and gasoline sales taxes should be collected by New York State. There actually was a Supreme Court case several years ago called the Atiyeh decision that said that the taxes should be collected. And I know that the different Native American tribes do pay federal taxes, but just not the state taxes. So this is an ongoing debate. A lot of people feel that the state is losing a lot of revenue. You know, I feel very badly for the small businesses that surround the reservation that lose business because they can't compete. At the same time, there are a lot of concerns about possible violence. We saw 2 uprisings in the past. And so it's a really strong debate that's going on right now. As a matter of fact, the governor kind of put his little toe in the water and said, I want the federal government to do a risk assessment on it. And then he kind of backed off from it. And I know that there are some hearings that are being conducted by the Senate in New York City this coming week. So who knows what's going to happen.
Well,
So
the last time they brought out their bows and arrows and raised a ruckus with state police.
they did. There were actually some state troopers who
Yeah.
were injured
Well,
very badly.
I beg your pardon, Senator, but I don't think you gave me your opinion and a straight up and down on this, and I wish you would be more positive.
What do you want exactly from her?
Well, as I said, the legislature has approved that in the past, but the thing is that the governor is in charge of the state agencies that would enforce this, and it would go through the agency called Taxation and Finance. And this started under Governor Pataki, where the legislature would say, you have to collect the taxes, we have a budget shortfall, and the governor would refuse to enforce it. Governor Pataki tried once or twice, and there was some violence. So the legislature is very frustrated, I think, in many ways by this, because they keep telling the governor he has to collect it. They pass laws to say so, but then the agency won't do it.
Well, my gathering of the picture here is that it's a law, but it's unenforceable. It just becomes unenforceable when you got a bunch of Native Americans beating on their tom-toms. You got the whole world watching this in outrage, and they have the thruway that goes right through the middle of the tribe, and they'll say, well, we'll shut down the thruway. They put out burning tires and shut down the thruway, and they take out the bows and arrows and shoot everybody who moves. It's unenforceable. What are you going to do? Put 500,000 people in jail, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for
Thank
taking
you.
my
Thank you for your call, sir. Send me a stamped envelope. I've got a lot of nice gifts, including
Thank you very much.
bunch of them, two $5 trips over to the Lakeview, that beautiful restaurant at the foot of the hill there. And I'll also give you $5 for Big Macs, or whatever, $2 for Big
all
Macs.
right,
Whatever, I'll give you 2
sir.
Big Macs, all right, whatever they're worth.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling. Caller, are you still with us? We got a lot of calls.
Good.
The people
Yes,
want to
I'm
hear.
with you.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, caller, you're on.
Hello.
Okay.
You're on, sir.
Okay, I have a question for Cathy Young about the budget crisis and all this. You know, the governor's proposed cuts to education, health care, all this. Has anybody ever said, let's go to the administrative costs, and everybody in the state Senate and Congress and their staffs all take a cut or no raises at all this year, along with public employees, so that they're on the same basis as the minimum wage people who are getting no raises, or a lot of shops that have taken cuts to stay in business.
Not to mention seniors who have not had a raised meaningful COLA for years, and now they get no COLA because there's no inflation. Oh, yes, there is some inflation in the medical. They're going to take more money out of what's left of the Social Security. Then, of course, the United States Congress just gave themselves a huge raise.
Yes, they did.
How about you guys? You get a big raise?
I don't think that, well, I know this. The legislature hasn't